Welcome back to Just Talking. We have a great guest for us today, and that is none other than filmmaker Greg Kohs. Did an excellent documentary called Song Sung Blue, and we're going to get into that. But first, Greg, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, Greg, let's start off. How did you get started into filmmaking?
I began filmmaking when I had seen a production that NFL Films had done. The production company NFL Films had done many years ago, right out of college. I was just out of college and I saw it and I got goosebumps. And I thought, I finally figured out what I want to do. I was into photography a lot, sports photography in particular. But when I got goosebumps with the orchestral music and the editing and the slow motion, I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to make goosebumps, and I guess that means filmmaking. And so that kicked off my journey.
So, what was sort of your first film or first, what did you do your project that was completed?
Yeah, well, my first films were short. They were 30-second, 60-second promos for a television station. And that had evolved at NFL Films and evolved into, well, this might be interesting to you. When I started at NFL Films, Steve Sable, the legendary late Steve Sable, said, "Hey, rookie, we're going to give you a football team to focus on, and you're going to tell their story at the end of the season. So make sure you follow it. You go to the city, you follow the games." And they gave me the Packers, and the Packers were the worst in the league at the time. And they had just signed quarterback from Atlanta named Brett Favre. And so I take responsibility for taking the Packers from worst to first back then. But I spent many, many, many weekends and a lot of time in Green Bay and County Stadium in Milwaukee, and just grew to love it. So that is a long answer to my first film. My first films were like highlight films for the NFL, but they weren't really mine. I was making them for someone else. But the first film I ever made for myself, by myself, with the help of really talented collaborators, but without any type of commerce involved, or it wasn't a job, it was just a passion, was Song Song Blue. And yeah, and it was after making that I kind of felt like for the first time I could call myself a filmmaker, like purely independent filmmaker.
Well, let's talk about that because I have seen it and it is just absolutely phenomenal on that. And I guess my question starts off, so how did you get wound up in that documentary and where did it all
Well,
start?
I was doing a documentary for a client, Harley Davidson, and we were in Milwaukee for was it the 90th anniversary. This is a long time ago, many lines ago, and we heard the soundings of Neil Diamond at the state fairgrounds for the hog rally, and we got on the radio and said to the other crew, "Go find Neil Diamond." We figured Harley had hired him, and so I grew up listening to Neil's music on vinyl in my parents' house, and sitting in the shag carpeting, listening to Jonathan Livingston Seagull and Love at the Greek, and I just loved it. So it was a trigger for me. So our crews converged on this one stage. Well, actually, it wasn't a stage; it was a makeshift stage. It was an outdoor bar, and standing atop that bar was Mike Lightning Sardina singing with his wife, Claire Thunder Sardina, playing her tambourine and accompanying him, and all these bikers dancing. And I thought right then, it's like these people, they were memorable, and I was rooting for them. And that was my first encounter with them.
Now, did they know you before that or when you contacted them, were they receptive to the idea?
When I contacted, I would be on back then. It was just phones, just maybe there were cell phones, but I can't even remember back in the day. But I would talk to Mike on the phone frequently, and I would check in with him. And we spent a lot of time. The phone calls always went typically went, "Hi, Mike, this is Greg Kohs, the filmmaker. How are you?" And he would say, "I'm huge." And then we would go on and continue to talk until finally I had gotten his trust, and he invited me out to Milwaukee to meet and to film. And so I showed up in Milwaukee. I stayed at the airport. I think it was like the Motel Super 8 or something. It's very memorable. And we saw Mike. He came to the door with a Marlboro in one hand and opened the screen door, shirtless with red, white, and blue boxers on, and said, "Come on in." So I went in, and he said, "By the way, you should know that Claire doesn't know you're coming, so she probably won't be so happy. I was like, great, thanks, Mike. This is good. This is not good. So I ran to the local grocery, grabbed some flowers, the least tired looking bouquet of flowers, and prepared for Thunder's arrival. I call her Thunder, Claire, who I love. I say lovingly Thunder. She's always Thunder to me. She pulled up from physical therapy in the car, learned that I was inside and refused to come inside. She was upset. And so I right then packed the camera up. I knew that that was not going to be part of my mission. My mission wasn't to film. Now it was to gather, to gain her trust. And so that's how it began.
Were you shooting on film or was there video? It looked like some footage from their collection. Let's hear sort of what film and video you used and how you incorporated it all.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's mixed media for sure. And I had a very state of the art camcorder at the time, which was, you would laugh at it today. You know, the cheapest cell phone is superior to what we had back then. But I just had a little inexpensive camera that I used to film our kids and our family, and with mini DVs. And it was a 4:3, kind of more of a square format for people that weren't born in that time. And yeah, that's how the film began, was with that little camera and mini DV. No lighting, no nothing, just me. And then occasionally my a good friend and sound person, Chris Kellett from Philly, would come out with me when he had the time, and he would help me and do sound. But a lot of the footage, like Lightning had a box of footage of tapes in the basement, like VHS tapes that he was, and he gave me that box, and I took it back to my hotel, the Super 8. And I remember I went to Walmart and rented a VHS player and plugged it into my little mini DV deck. And then I started dubbing every single one of those tapes as quickly as I stayed up all night, just dubbing those tapes because I couldn't take them with me. I knew that was act one of a potential film. That was their life before I came into it, and gathered all that footage. So that was kind of ratty digital copies. And then really what I feel what made the film special and kind of freaked me out, because I thought for sure I was in a simulation or someone was playing a prank on me, is one day I was at Lightning and Thunder's home, and I was in the front room going through a box of photographs, and Mike and Claire were in their TV room, and I was by myself. And I had always asked Mike, do you have any home movies or anything that you shot, aside from the news and what other people sent you? Nah, he just kind of blew me off. And so I'm going through these pictures, and then all of a sudden I come across this one picture of Mike on a beach in a Speedo holding a VHS camera, a big old, prehistoric VHS camera. And I'm like, that you had, like, I took it into him and I was like, Mike, where are the tapes that were in that camera? And he goes, Greg, they're in the closet. There isn't a shoebox in the closet. I'm like, let's get them. So we went and got this old shoebox with these tapes, and we plugged it into the TV. Claire was sitting right there, and we plugged it in and started to watch them. And it was some of the most emotional, heartbreaking, just powerful footage that Mike had shot while they were going through a really difficult time in their journey as a family.
I'm glad you brought that up because you hit it right on the head. When I was watching it, and I hope others do as well, is that it's not only about, lightning and thunder, but I just felt like it's about the American family right now. Or back then, it's like, this is so relevant today, just how you captured it all with that as well. And that's, I guess, my next question is, for a documentarian, when do you know when to stop, or do you have the arc in mind of what the story may be? And I know it's probably different for any documentary, because if you're doing either a history or this one, you're actually living in the moment and you're actually seeing everything going. When do you say, okay, we got enough?
Yeah, well, typically typically in starting a documentary, you have some ideas of what that finish line might be. What is the finish line of this film and this journey? And I didn't have a finish line for this project. I mean, I kept looking for it, right? I was looking for it, and I'd film in hopes of finding it. And I kept filming and it kept evolving and kept evolving. So now Act One is kind of there. Act Two is there. What is Act Three? What does that look like? I don't know. I have to keep filming. And believe me, it's a question that, the only person that really knew what I was up to personally in my circle was my wife, who was so supportive. But she would often ask, how much longer are you going to keep going to Milwaukee? I'm like, I don't know how many more years I'll be going to Milwaukee because I had gone quite a few. But I'm just got to stick with it. And we started to cut the film to try to see, we started to cut the film in hopes of that we would have a satisfying ending. It's like their return to the stage. They returned to the state fair. That was really special. It wasn't a spectacle, but it was a big accomplishment for them as local entertainers. And so maybe that would be the end. Maybe, who knew? And so we started to edit the film, and we had been editing for almost a year. A really talented editor, Nick, down in Virginia, and um, and then I got the call from Thunder that there was still more filming to be done because Mike had hit his head and was in rough shape. And it was at that moment I was like, okay, I had never anticipated that this would be the potential end of my film. I had always, I'd kind of hoped in the back of my mind that maybe we could get the attention of Conan at the time, or Letterman or Oprah or someone like that to shine a light on them, and that would be the end of the film. They finally made it. They finally got the acknowledgement that they were good enough for, a big audience. And that never happened during the filming. And so then when Mike fell sick and I went to Milwaukee, I knew for the first time in the entire filmmaking process, I knew why I was filming, what the scene would be in the film. I knew, like I just edited in my camera, like I just knew why I was there. I was there to pay tribute to this man who had trusted me, and his family, is Claire, Rachel, and Dana.
A beautiful movie. And actually, when I was done, the first thing I did was go on the internet and says, what Oscar did this win? Did it win in what year? The documentary type of thing, because it was that good. I was just glued from beginning to end. And I'm sure over the years you have had a lot of response as well. And let's hear about it. What type of response or reception when people did see it? I'm sure you went to film festivals and things like that.
We did. Well, thanks for your kind comments. That's really nice. Yeah, no, the film still kind of remained underground. It went to Slam Dance. It got accepted to Slam Dance, very respected. And I was really happy that someone wanted to share the film. So it did. It won grand jury and audience award there very unexpectedly. And then it did any film festival that wanted to screen the movie. I enthusiastically got them a DVD or a master of the film to share. And so as a result, it played at a lot of just everywhere, but not big places. It was more kind of in keeping with the vibe of Lightning and Thunder. It was, there were festivals, underground film festivals in Chicago and Memphis and in Sydney, Australia, all these places that really, I don't know. I think those audiences really connected with the story from a musician's standpoint and an artist's standpoint, and was fortunate enough in this release, which was just a shoestring mom and pop folky release to whoever would screen it. Two really important things happened out of that were unexpected. And that one first happened with the Chicago Underground Film Festival. They had screened it, and which I'm so appreciative of, in like the basement of a church, I believe. I wasn't able to make it, and there was a couple dozen people there. And before that film festival, they had sent the DVDs of the screeners of the films they were going to share. They sent them over across town to Roger Ebert, the late Roger Ebert, and to review if he wanted. Well, that never happened, but I later learned that Roger had been cleaning up his office and he found a DVD under his desk. And he grabbed it, it had fallen there, and he grabbed it and looked at it and he said, well, this is a film that needs a break. And so he watched it and reviewed it. And I think to this day, it's the only film that he's reviewed that never had a wide release. So that was really special as a result of sharing it. And then the second thing that turns out to be really special, especially during this time right now, is that it played at the Memphis Film Festival. And there were, from what I'm told, there were about a dozen people in the audience for that screening as well. And one of those happened to be Craig Brewer, who saw it, and the story resonated with him and stayed with him for 2008. And now here we are in 2025. So it stayed with him until he reached out to me in 2020 and said, "Would you be interested in maybe having, if I were to remake this documentary and tell their story in a scripted Hollywood feature?" So I don't know what your question was.
No,
That was
no,
just a long answer.
well, no, that was good. The reception, and then also it kind of touches on it. Eddie Vedder and Neil Diamond, did they respond and seen it?
They did. Yeah, they did. The when we an interest, it was dramatic and traumatic, I guess, at the time. But when we went to Slam Dance with the film, I had like we had about 13 Neil Diamond publishing tracks, just the music, not his voice because that was Lightning. But we had to get the rights for that music, and so as an independent filmmaker with no big reputation at all, just making this film about this couple in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was hard to get the big company's attention. Especially when they have requests for licensing coming across their desks for, you know, uh, huge movies and TV shows. Here's this little festival, request. And they probably, I would imagine they laughed. Like 13 songs? What? No film had had that many license, requests. And so I enlisted the help of a music supervisor that's their job. They just deal with music publishing. And that person assured me before we went to the festival that it was going up. She was told it was going up the pipe, up the flagpole is what I remember. It was going up the flagpole, and we were fine to screen the film 2 times in Park City for its premiere, and not to worry. But the process was happening, just not as fast as we had hoped. Well, shortly, a couple days before the premiere in Park City for the film festival, I got a cease and desist order from a music publisher saying you don't have permission. Apparently, they weren't near that flagpole that it was going up, and which is understandable. It's a big system, and I had a cease and desist, and uh, I was told that it's hopeless. You'll never get permission in time. Your only hope is to get to Neil Diamond. And I said, okay, well, and I had through my research a phone number that I suspected was Eddie Vedder's. It was just said EV in my phone. I kept it in case my phone was stolen. No one would ever call it, and I sure didn't call it. And so I thought, well, now's a rock and roll Hail Mary. I gave a call, left a message, and on a computer voicemail, and then 1 o'clock in the morning, I got a call back. I said, Greg. I said, hello. He goes, this is Eddie. And I was like, oh my gosh. I start crying. And I don't know if he knew that. And I just explained, I was like, this couple, I've been making this film. And I just need to get it to Neil. And you're the only person I could think of would have a way of maybe helping me get it to Neil in time to watch. And he said, I'm going to do my best. And so, uh, yeah, fast forward to 2 days later, two masters in my hand, one with the music, one without. We were in a little dirtbag bar across the street from the theater with some family and friends and crew celebrating, kind of in a bittersweet moment of this moment. And the bartender came up to me and he said, Greg Kohs? I said, yeah. And he goes, you have a call behind the bar on line 2. I remember it was line 2. I said, all right. And I remember my wife looked at me. She's like, what? And I thunders up on the stage singing Song Song Blue. No joke, she was singing Song Song Blue with Tony Decker, who did the score for the film, a beautiful version of it. And I went back to the bar and I picked up the phone and I said, hello? I pressed line 2, hello? And he said, Greg Kohs? And I'm like, yes. He goes, this is Neil Diamond. I just wanted to let you know I'm in the studio recording my newest album, and we just finished watching Song Song Blue. And I loved, loved, loved it. And I remember he said loved 3 times because I had a little Bausch and Lomb napkin from the bar and I wrote with a pen like love times 3. It was just, and he said he was really proud of our film. and it was beautiful. So word got out, Thunder got off stage, we called him back, and she was moved. And then we went all walked across the street to the screening to premiere the film. And then my phone rang again, my cell phone, and it was said EV. And I'm like, hello? He says, Greg. And I was like, Eddie. And he's like, I just heard that Neil watched the film. And I was like, I know. And he goes, how do you know? I said, because he just called me. And he's like, man, I am so happy. I am so happy. And then he just finished the conversation after a little chat with I thanked him, and he finished the chat with just Greg, and he just paused and he goes, Greg. I said, yeah. And he goes, enjoy the ride. And I said, all right, thanks. And so here we are talking right now today on this ride, which has been absolutely phenomenal. And I can't imagine what it must be for Thunder and Rachel and Dana.
Listening to all this, it sounds like a movie within a movie.
Yeah,
It's just
well,
amazing. And it's not done yet. The third act of this story is a full-length feature based on your documentary. That had to been mind-blowing. It's kind of fast forward. So those who don't know, that the song Sung Blue is now coming out, I believe, December 25th, with none other than Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson. How does it feel?
yeah, well, maybe it's the third act. Who knows,
Who
right? This
knows?
journey has been so odd, but it's definitely um, an amazing moment right now for, I can't imagine, for Claire and Rachel and Dana and Mike up there. I am just so happy for them, and I'm happy for all the people that believed in them along the way that we encountered, that many are depicted in the film, the Hollywood, we'll call it the Hollywood film of their love story. And you asked me, how does it feel? It feels really wonderful. I think that Craig Brewer, the writer and director of the film, has written a beautiful, beautiful film that really honors them. It laughs with them, never at them, which was so important to me all along. Um, Hugh and Kate and just all the others in the film, and all the crew, they were just, yeah, everyone was so passionate, and it felt really, it just was beautiful. And as a result, I feel like the mission setting, when we set out to make the documentary, the mission was to spread the word of Lightning and Thunder to more people, and hopefully it would result in helping make their lives a little bit better. That was the mission. And I feel come December 25th, when the film, the next chapter of their love story is released, I feel like mission accomplished. I feel like finally, it always bugged me in the back of my head, always, that they gave me their trust. That was our bargain, right? That was our deal. You give me your trust, and I will hopefully deliver on helping you reach a greater audience and helping make your lives a little bit better. And I did my best on the audience. I feel like it's mission accomplished now, and that feels I'm great. I'm grateful. You know, they have such a larger family now of filmmakers in their world, and everyone's going to know who Lightning and Thunder from Milwaukee are, and that just makes me so happy.
Absolutely. It was like a lightning rod in Milwaukee a few weeks ago. That just,
Yeah, the
uh,
premiere was beautiful. Yeah.
were you involved in the making of the new movie, like a consultant at all, or they just kind of did that and had questions along the way, or I don't know how it works.
No, early on, Craig and I had numerous discussions, especially in the courting process, I guess I would call it. It was important to me that whomever, if someone were to retell their story or tell the next chapter in it, that I trusted them, that they had the same integrity and intentions. I should not integrity, but they had the same intentions that I had, maybe integrity too, in making the doc. And I wanted that to continue because it was all about trust. You know, I had worked to gain that trust, and I've worked for many, many years to continue to build that. So I was going to have to recommend to Claire and Rachel and Dana not recommend, but I was going to have to assure them that if this was going to go to the next step, um, that they could trust who was going to do that. And so Craig and I talked often, and I felt 100% trust in his not only him as skillful, amazing, storyteller, but also that his heart was in a really great place. And so um, I had Craig was really kind and shared some early cuts with me. I provided a lot of archival research, footage that was beyond the doc. I went through all, hundreds of tapes looking for different pieces for the crew so they could make sure they got it all right the way it was, or get inspired by their real lives, which was really wonderful that they cared about it that much. So, but beyond that, I've been like so many others in Milwaukee and elsewhere following the story. I wake up, I go on Instagram or I go on my computer and I see what I just saw that he was on Howard Stern talking about lightning and thunder.
Wow.
Like it just or will be on Oprah soon or late, just the publicity around them is amazing, and I'm really enjoying watching that all happen for Claire and Rachel and Dana.
Yeah, and Hugh Jackman said some nice words to you at the premiere too, as well. How was it meeting Hugh Jackman?
Hugh is a master class in kindness.
Yeah.
He really is.
Well, unfortunately, I have to wrap this up, but I definitely want to hear so people learn more about your current movies or upcoming movies or anything like that. Do you have like a website people can follow or anything like that?
I do. I have a website. My website's realasdirt.com, and that's REEL. And if anyone's interested in watching the documentary before or after they go to the Hollywood film on Christmas, which I encourage everyone to do, they can see that on YouTube. It's up there for free. I put it up not long ago because so many people wanted to see it and I wanted to share it. So it's on YouTube. As far as films going right now, if you like that, there's another film. I've got several documentaries I'm in the process of making right now. But one pet project that I've been thinking a lot about lately. There's a film I made called The Great Alone about a four-time Iditarod champion and cancer survivor named Lance Mackey. That film's posted on my YouTube channel now as well. But that is waiting to be remade dramatically, and that's a project that I'm personally working on right now. So I would encourage everyone to check that out if they like lightning and thunder story. And they like dogs. I think they're really going to like The Great Alone. But I'm just really, really thrilled and enjoying this moment right now. And as Eddie had encouraged me to do, to enjoy the ride. And something tells me the ride's not over, but I am grateful for it right now.
Well, once again, all I can say is from what I've seen, you're just a four-star filmmaker. And I encourage people to see the documentary. I have not seen the new movie yet, but also that they can check that out as well. And your your current work and your future work on realdirt.com, I believe. Is it? Yeah.
Real as dirt, or go to
Real
songsongblue.com. That's the
Song Song.
easiest.
Okay.
Songsongblue.com will get you there.
Song. Okay, excellent. Well, Greg, thank you so much for talking with us today, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.